In this conversation, my colleague Srini shares his thoughts and suggestions on working from home in a dispersed team situation. Listen up. What is the disruption that you see in your teams when you have this dispersal? I'm making a distinction between distributed teams and the dispersed teams, where suddenly, like the police comes and disperses a crowd. Everybody goes in different directions, not to their normal environment. Distributed teams would still probably have some kind of an office setup or a work environment setup, but now you need to work from home. Okay, you can't even go to a cafe. So what is that disruption that you see, in what dimensions, both individual level as well as team level, and how to handle this at a team level or at an individual level, whatever your thoughts are. Of course, at an organization level also, if there is going to be at least a sudden dip or an impact on the productivity or whatever plans you made, how one adjusts to that, or how one views this going forward.
So I'll give you my perspective, right?
Yeah.
It might be a combination of both individual and team, right? And yeah, organization is a macro picture of the team in some senses to me. First of all, I should start off with where I begin with my position, right? My own position is I'm a firm believer that co-located teams are the most effective teams. So that's a fundamental belief, and all research and things that have supported that, and I firmly believe in that. So from there, if I take my own personal situation today, that's not practical as I speak, right? Whether it is the next 4 weeks or 12 weeks, hopefully lesser, but it's likely to happen. So then the question, I come back, and today as an agile coach, right, I always go back and explain to people the way I have internalized the agile values. And there is only one word in the agile values that I say is the most important word. And that probably keeps me in good stead. And that word to me is a word called over. I value something over another thing, right? And that is the crux of the whole thing. So yes, I value co-location over the fact that you have a distributed team. But today, I would say I value safety of the society over the fact that we have a dispersal, right? So which means internally I'm able to clearly distinguish this, right? So to me, I see a higher order purpose and I can put that in front of me as my value. And so it fits in naturally as a person, right? Because I always felt the only good word in the whole agile values is the word over. At any point of time, if I know what I'm valuing over another thing, it works fine. And that is how I internalize it for myself, and I tend to move on. Now, the question that you comes back with respect to teams and dispersal, right? And okay, first, dispersal itself creates one important thing, and that is going to be the loss of the water cooler moment, right? Every day you run into people, right? It's not about the fact that I have a formal meeting with somebody. The value of that can still be sort of retained. It is about those sidebar conversations you have with people. It could be lighthearted or it could be something serious stuff that you can share because you're meeting the person face to face. At that moment, you're willing to share, right? And that builds on into something else. Now, this part of it is what we potentially are going to miss out, right? I firmly believe the formal mechanisms can tend to work given the fact that all of us today work in the tech sector, and most of us are used to some sort of a remote working at different points of time in our career and work. So how do you then help people to get that water cooler moment is the question that's going on in my mind, if you were to ask. That is on the people's thinking. Now, if I step a little farther, right, you know that I have several decades of experience, but then we all work with youngsters who probably have just begun the career, right, who have just a couple of months to a year or two of working experience. Now, many of these people, if you take Bangalore, where we all live, are migrants and who have lived or are living all on their own. Now, for them, further the social distancing can create a little more level of isolation, right? Question is, that's what we were discussing with people. Is there a way by which people can have some sort of a light-hearted banter, right? And maybe these are not formal groups, their own friend circle, right? Even using your office Zoom or office whatever video conferencing facility, take a 10-minute. Actually, the only thing is you have to plan it now, just like the way you plan to go for a chai earlier, but you have to plan at a predefined time and do that so that you can keep that sense of belonging, right? So to me, these two things will probably be the biggest things that will have to be handled in the initial period. Now, a couple of other smaller things from individual perspective, I think, is the fact that your family is there with you. Now, that can cut both ways. If you're working all by yourself for a task, you can sort of plan it out, work it out with your family's time, which has to be interspersed, it is actually beautiful. But if you're busy in something, and some people who have small kids, because everybody is in the same situation right now, can get affected a little more. Actually, I just got off a message from one of my Scrum Masters, right? Very interesting. 2 days, her kids are 5 years old, and they've already put a board on the on their room door saying nobody allowed entry into my room without their permission, right? What they're trying to say is, hey, you're telling me I can't come to your room, you have to respect that. So it's good. Actually, children learn very rapidly. I mean, they actually adapt. We think they don't adapt, but they may adapt to make this work. It's going to be so. To me, to this one, the formal meetings I think can work. Yes, will there be a little less effectiveness? That's okay. I mean, given the circumstances, I think it adds we can the fact that we can do it well. And also, if for those of us who are living in Bangalore today, it's a boon. We, on an average, will save 2 hours of our day in commute. That's how I see it. At an organizational level, the question will be, how do you keep people feeling still belonging to the organization, and more importantly, how can you bring this out into people who are going to join the organization newly or who have just joined, right? And that's a little harder task, because for them to embrace your company, your culture, or the way that people behave, right, it's all going to be a little more challenging. I hope we all will provide some sort of a real buddy for them and try out a few things, maybe a couple of buddies, not even a buddy, so that we can help them out. That's what I would say organizations could look out. I will pause here, see whether it makes sense. Shuchi.
Yes, Srini, all of them make very, very good sense, particularly the water cooler moment, which is something that I was also wondering in how to create that. Because if we try to simulate it in, let's say, a tool like Slack or any other team tool, it would still probably mean interruptions. Here, visually, you can probably see maybe setting the status, having some team norms to say when we'll go for chai or when we will do something is probably something no one can experiment. And the other one was also interesting when the kids, you said that they put up a sign saying, no permission, without no entry without their permission. While being together, are we also creating this social distancing a little too much? And maybe, I don't know if we can extend that to social media distancing. On one hand, we need the social media to be connected, particularly when we're isolated. You're talking about the migrant professionals. Yes, that is definitely true. If I'm staying in a PG and then there are three of us in the room, I probably have to huddle to one corner to maintain the physical distance. And at the same time, I need to get some work done. Interesting challenge.
Yeah, actually, another Scrum Master was just responding back, and her perspective was, hey, she said the two, she thought her husband and her child were the two demons in her life trying to make her life challenging. And now she says both of them are having a good hearty laugh at her staying at home and working, right? Apparently, the two have teamed together and constantly coming back and looking at her and having fun at her expense. But she says all lighthearted, and more importantly, she says they're able to get together and have their meals together, right? Lunch together, dinner together. So, yeah, maybe there are new things that you discover which you could not afford in the old model. So why not make the best use of that when it lasts? Just imagine having a lunch with your family every day. Tough in today's world.
Yeah. In fact, interestingly, yesterday evening, after a very, very long time, my son and I played badminton on the terrace. The terrace was deserted. We were at home. We said we wanted some fresh air. Yeah, maybe there are some benefits too.
As far as tools and things are concerned, I think it will be there. I don't know. I want to see if some tools can create. I mean, is there a way by which some tools can provide people, for example, let's say at a given point of time, it's like you go to a party hall, right? So people cluster around different places and have a chat, right? Is there a way like you can have a bigger room and then people know something is going on here and I can just walk into one of those and then spend some time, exit from that, go to another, right? I don't know. People, I hope somebody will come with some creative ways in which they can simulate some of this and enjoy it, because I've seen different people, right? Even when you go to a party, some people like to speak out, some people like to respond, and some people just like to observe and then move on from one group to another group, right? Hopefully people will find some tools, techniques that will help people to simulate some of these things, right? And people feel good about it.
Yeah, we can go retro and go to those old internet chat rooms, or even some of the modern platforms do offer creating smaller groups, and you can go join, leave, etc. Good. Nice ideas, Srini. Thanks. I hope that these are useful, because teams need to experiment. And like they say, the one universal answer, like you said, that one word in the Agile Manifesto, the one universal answer is it depends. It depends on your context. Please stay safe, stay at home, and adopt whatever practices work. And do tell us so that the community can benefit.
Absolutely,
Thanks.
sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks, Srini.
Thanks, Shiv.
Please share your experiences on what's working and what's not. This way, we hope to help others and ourselves navigate this time in the best possible way. Do write to us with your insights and thoughts at podcasts@pm-powerconsulting.com.